The first meeting is really a get-to-know-you meeting. We're going to sit down. Typically, the meeting will last about an hour. We're having a conversation. My job is to ask them some questions about where they are, what some of their goals are, what some of the key objectives they have in meeting with me, where they are to this point, and really what brought them in to see me. And now I'm at the point in my career where I have a lot of people that are dependent upon me to provide them with all the guidance and all the advice that we do on a day-to-day basis.
You spend your working years trying to build up your assets, trying to build up pension credits at your job, trying to grow your nest egg so that you can one day retire when you can't work or don't want to work anymore. And that's a period followed by phase two, which is retirement. And your priorities in these two phases are very different, but many times we see people don't make that shift and they still act like they're in phase one when they really should be acting like they're in phase two.
We're going to talk to you about what we commonly refer to as the second half of the game. And what I mean by that is you're working your entire life towards retirement, and I'm assuming that most of you are, at that age where you're starting to consider some of your options as you move into retirement. And as you do that, you're moving from what we call the accumulation phase of your life, where you're accumulating your assets. Maybe you're participating in your company's 401k, maybe you're contributing to an IRA account or a Roth IRA account or some type of retirement vehicle. And now, as you retire, you're transitioning into the distribution phase, or the part where you're going to need income in retirement. So we're going to talk about some different ways to do that with an emphasis on Social Security.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Jablonski, and I'm here today with Jeff Bush, with Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush. The subject today is something that's influences and has a lot to do with a lot of the baby boomers. And that back in 2011, about 10,000 baby boomers a day turned 65. And it's said that that's going to go for the next 19 years. So today we're going to be talking about Social Security and some of the ins and outs of it. Jeff?
Yeah. So good morning, Steve. Welcome to the show. It's great to be here. Getting the most from Social Security through comprehensive planning. So we've been here on PCTV now. This is our fourth year, believe it or not, doing the show, Financially Speaking. So it's great to be here. We like having this presence here in the Pottstown area. In addition to being on the local cable, we also have the show on the internet, which is really one of the reasons why we do it. It's on thepctvnetwork.com, so the local show is shown worldwide, and of course we put it on our website as well, which is informedfamily.com. So with all that being said, what we want to talk about today is Social Security, and the way you led off the show today, you talked about 10,000 baby boomers reaching the age of 65 every day, meaning actually age 62, making them eligible for Social Security. So the aging of the baby boomers has really brought the issue of Social Security to light. And of course, we've been doing public workshops on Social Security for about 5 years now, and when we get to the end of today's show, we'll put our events up on the screen. You'll be able to see it. But what we want to do today is bring to the show some of the topics that we speak to in the public forum relative to this very important topic of Social Security.
And Jeff, I think a really good place to start is, you've mentioned and you talked about the three-legged stool. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, the three-legged retirement income stool it's really demonstrates the different sources of income that you take in retirement. So it's your pension, your Social Security, and then your income from your retirement savings, whether that's a 401k or some sort of government-sponsored retirement account, or whether it's your own savings.
Okay.
And I think the important point on this slide, Steve, is the fact that retirement today is very different than retirement was just a generation ago. It used to be that when you retired, the bulk of your income came from a company pension, and that was supplemented by Social Security, and those were fixed sources of income, and there weren't moving parts. You didn't worry about the performance of the stock market. The performance of the stock market or the bond market didn't affect your quality of living in retirement. You got a pension, you got Social Security, and that was it. The game has changed dramatically, and a lot of it is driven by the economy and the fact that companies don't want to participate in these pension plans anymore. So the landscape has changed dramatically to the point where now Social Security makes up about a third of income for a married couple. About 37% of a typical married couple, their income is coming from Social Security.
Yeah. And Jeff, a lot of people just think of Social Security as like a monthly check. How do you guys view it?
Yeah. So how much is your Social Security check worth? And you think of it in terms of, well, I'm getting, if I get my Social Security at 62, I'm going to get $1,500 a month, and people are looking at it like you're getting a monthly check, but it's really much more than that. It's more like managing an asset. So it's really time to think differently about Social Security. So in other words, let's say you're getting a nice Social Security check that adds up to about $41,000 a year. That's a pretty big check, and in all probability, if you're getting a benefit that's that big, chances are you've waited to take your Social Security benefit, because your Social Security benefit keeps getting bigger the longer that you wait. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But to get an income stream of $41,000, what does that Social Security benefit mean to you? Well, first of all, it's guaranteed. And when I say it's guaranteed, I mean it's guaranteed for life. And if you're married, it's guaranteed for 2 lives. Okay, so if that's your benefit and your benefit's bigger than your spouse's, that benefit is going to last. If you die, it's going to transfer over to your spouse. So it's guaranteed. It's payable for life. And the other nice thing about Social Security is we have cost of living adjustments. Now, the cost of living adjustments haven't been very significant of late. In fact, 2 years ago, I don't think there was any increase to the Social Security benefit. And last year, it was nominal. I think it was like 0.3%. So it wasn't very much. But when you think about it, your Social Security benefit, it's really like managing a large asset. It's like managing an asset it could be an asset as big as $1 million. When you think about the fact that you're getting $41,000 a year, you might get that for 25 years, depending on how long you live in retirement. So you really have to look at it. We try to take a longer view when you're looking at your Social Security, and think about the fact that you're going to take this benefit for a very long time.
Yep. Okay. Now, Jeff, there's a couple distinct phases of your financial life. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Well, yeah. I mean, the way we like to look at retirement planning is there's, to use a football analogy, it's like the first half of the game and the second half of the game, and you play differently in the second half of the game than you do the first half. But basically, there's the accumulation phase, and there's the distribution phase. So the accumulation phase, that's you're working. So what are your priorities while you're working? Well, you're trying to grow money.
Yep.
You know, that's why, Steve, I mean, one of the greatest inventions during our lifetime has been the 401k.
Yep.
Because the 401k brought into the workplace a systematic way for people to save for retirement.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like all you do, maybe you put 1% away, maybe you put 2% away, maybe you work towards increasing it up to as much as 6%. Maybe the company matches, maybe they match 100%, maybe they match 50%.
Yep.
Whatever they match, it's it's money that you're getting that you wouldn't otherwise have, and a lot of companies did that to replace the pension.
Yep.
That you're not getting anymore. But if you systematically invest in a 401k, that is by far the best way to accumulate money. So that's accumulation. And then we talk about asset allocation. And asset allocation simply is the way you divide your investments up. So, you have stock investments, you have bond investments, you have cash. So, and then within stock investments, you have different kinds of stock investments. You might have a large cap strategy, you might have a mid cap strategy, you might have a small cap strategy. And then within there's value and there's growth and there's domestic and international. So there's all kinds of, there's different flavors of stock. So the more that you have of these different asset classes, the more diversification you have and the less risk you have over a period of time. And in the same way within the bond market, there's different types of bonds. There's short-term bonds, there's longer-term duration bonds.
Yep.
There's government bonds, there's corporate bonds. Again, there's international bonds. So again, you want diversification in the bond market as well. And then there's, the different quality of bonds. So it gets complex, but it doesn't have to be complex. When you're doing a 401k, and this is a point of emphasis to people that are still working, participate in your company plan. You start out at whatever amount that you can, and be disciplined in putting money away. And even if you pick just a basic strategy, you can be in a stock strategy in your 401k, and because you have a pretty long time horizon, if you're a 30-year-old worker, or even if you're a 40-year-old worker, your time horizon is 20 to 30 years. So, you can probably invest in the market and be, you're gonna make money because you're every paycheck you're putting a little bit away into this 401k plan, and it's really the best way to accumulate wealth. There's really no get rich quick scheme.
Right.
You're not going to win the lottery. You're not going to get a great inheritance. Those are reserved for very few people. Yep. The way to make money is really through systematic investing. So that's the accumulation phase of your life. Then you get to retirement, and we head into the distribution phase of your life, and that is when that's a game changer.
Yep.
It's a game changer. The slide that we put up, we have a mountain here, so then it's like we're climbing down the mountain. Well, climbing down the mountain is different than climbing up the mountain, and your priorities are different, because now that you're retired, what has happened? You no longer have a job, you no longer have a steady paycheck. So your income has to come from somewhere else.
Yep.
So it's going to come from Social Security at some point, either now or later, and it's going to come from your investments. So there's this requires a whole another strategy of income creation and wealth protection. Yep. So there's a whole series of planning events that occur here that dictate how you position all of your assets in retirement. So that's wealth protection. And then we have asset preservation and growth. And asset preservation and growth simply says, okay, well, we have our assets. We have, we kind of give every asset a job description. So that's asset designation. So we say, okay, this asset is going to give us income now. This next asset is going to give us income later. This, maybe 5 or 10 years down the road. Yep. Then you may have another asset that you're going to leave to your loved ones, to your beneficiaries, or your charities. We call that leave on money. There's live on money, and then there's leave on money. So that's asset designation. Yep. So there's really a lot to this. So we're trying to, really kind of cover it here in this show here today on one slide. But the priorities of the distribution phase are really somewhat complex, and that's where the need for a good, comprehensive financial plan come in. So it's not quite as simple as just saying, okay, I'm going to take Social Security. I'm retired, I'm going to take Social Security. There's a lot more involved with just making that simple decision of, how am I going to take Social Security when I retire?
And Jeff, there's the full retirement age when you can take Social Security has been changing a little bit over time. Can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like?
It used to be 65. Everybody, when they turned 65, I would take Social Security. That was your full retirement age. So several years ago, that changed to 66 for most people. They're actually phasing it into 67. So if you were born, and we have the slide up on the screen here, if you were born in 1954 or prior to that, your full retirement age is 66. If you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. Yep. Okay, so that was the, and believe it or not, that little shift there to go from 65 to 66 or 67, that bought the Social Security Administration a lot of time and made the program a lot more solvent. We're still in trouble in terms of, if you look at the simple math, there's a lot more going out than what's coming in. Yeah. So we still, this has to change. We still have to address this. And whether it's addressed through legislation of higher taxes or making people work, they may even extend that age out even further. But the fact of the matter is, this is something that Americans rely on, Social Security. So we have to figure out a way to make it work for people. So the rule of thumb is 66. We call that FRA, full retirement age. Unless you were born after 1954. If you were born after 1954, but before 1960, then they phase in the age. It's 66 and a few months till they bracket it up to age 67 for those people that are born in 1960 or later.
Now, if someone wants to take it early, what's the earliest they can take it, and how much does that reduce the benefit?
You could take a benefit as early as age 62. Okay. So even though your full retirement age is 66, you could take an early benefit at age 62. So so the example that we have up on the screen here is we have our good friend Ronald, and Ronald applied for benefits early. So if he goes to at age 62, Steve, let's say his primary benefit at age 66 is $2,300. We call that PIA, his primary insurance amount. If he goes early, if he goes at age 62, he's going to get a 25% reduction.
Wow.
He's going to get 75% of his benefit. So instead of him getting $2,300, he's going to get $1,725, and that's a permanent reduction.
Wow.
So he'll get 25% less, and he'll get it for lifetime. And then, of course, if he gets it, if he waits until he's age 63, his reduction is only 20%.
Yep.
So he'll get 80% of his benefit. In this example, Ron would get $1,840. So just the difference between 62 and 63, you know, that's another $115 a month.
Yep.
So the IRS, or I should say the Social Security Administration, has done this all with mortality tables.
Yep.
And, you know, they're kind of betting on how long you live. You know, they've got all this data in their data bank, and they know how long people are going to live. So they give you incentive for waiting, but they know that the people that if you take a smaller benefit, you know, the theory is they're going to have to pay you longer.
Yep.
So that's why they give you that reduced benefit.
Now, if full retirement age is 66 and 67, and we went over the reduction, what happens if someone is in a financial position to wait after 66?
Yeah, so if you take your benefit, here's the other thing with taking your benefit early. If you take your benefit early, you're really restricted to how much you can earn.
Yep.
While you take your benefit. So if you wait until your full retirement age to take your benefit, there's no restriction on how much you can earn. So earned income from a job. If you take your benefit at age 62 and you get that permanent reduction, you're also limited to how much you can make. You could only make, and I think they just indexed it up, and I don't know that number off the top of my head, but it's somewhere around $16,000 a year you can make, and it doesn't affect the way they calculate your benefit. If you make over that threshold, then you have to start giving some of the money back in terms of your Social Security benefit. You have to give $1 back over every $2 over that you make. But that goes into your formula, and then you eventually get that back. Okay. So now I'm getting to answering your question. What happens if you wait until after you're 66? So you're still working. You're 66 and you're still working, and you say, well, you know what? Maybe I don't want to take my benefit. If I wait, my benefit is going to be greater. Okay. Every year that you wait, your benefit goes up by 8%, okay? So if you take it at age 67, you're going to get 108%. You're going to get an 8% increase. So your benefit, so Ron, let's look at Ron here. So Ron's going to go from $2,300 to $2,484, okay? So he's going to get a nice reward for waiting. And he can wait all the way up until age 70. So you can get 8% every year. So the difference between 66 and 70 is 32%. So his benefit would be $3,000 a month. So that we call that delayed retirement credits, DRC, delayed retirement credits. And the other thing to point out here, Steve, is that once you hit the age of 66, once you hit full retirement age, there's no restriction on how much you can earn. Yep. So you can work full time, make full-time wages, and collect a Social Security benefit at the same time, yep. and nobody cares. Yep. That was all changed way back when. It's hard to believe, but we used to have a labor shortage way back, I think in the early 2000s. It might have been 2000 or 2001. They were looking for people to work.
Yep.
So what they did was they said, okay, well, if you're at your full retirement age, we will let you work. We won't restrict your earnings. You collect your full Social Security benefit and work at the same time. Mm-hmm. So it was a good deal for everybody, and it kind of opened up the labor pool back then. Of course, we don't quite have that same problem today, but the other problem we have is older people need to work because they need to make ends meet. So the other way that we look at this is, and we have a graph that we call this so if we look back at our good friend Ron here, for those math geeks out in the audience, we did a break-even analysis here. So what the break-even analysis does, and if you're watching on a color screen, you see here that the red line represents taking it at age 70. The blue line represents taking it at 66, and the green line represents taking it at 62. So you see there that those lines converge right there, right around somewhere around age 79. Okay, so right around 79, that's what we call the break-even point. So if you died at age 79, and let's just assume Ron's married, but let's assume Ron's not married. He dies. The break-even point is 79. Yep. So what that means is it doesn't matter if he would have taken an early benefit or a delayed retirement benefit. That's his break-even point. So the point is, if he lives longer than that, then he's gonna make out better. Yep. So when you're 65, it really pays to wait. So we're getting ready to wrap up another show here today. So covered a lot of ground here with Social Security. We have a public workshop coming up. You can see that on the screen. We're going to take our show on the road, Steve, and talk about Social Security. So call our office for tickets if you're interested in coming out and meeting us. If you want more information on Social Security, you can call our office or send me an email. I think we have another slide where you can, so you can send me an email or give us a call. So anyway, a lot of good information on Social Security, and with all that being said, we're going to put a wrap on another show here. Today, this is Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush.